How long will the royal family continue to cause pain to people of color? Prince William has been petitioned by Kenyan land grab victims. Their families were brutally evicted by the British Empire to make way for tea plantations. Now they want the crown to apologize. How long will these atrocities the royal family has committed towards black people go unpunished? How long? How long will this go unpunished? Now, a letter delivered to Prince William's household in London today seeks justice for a notorious land grab in East Africa. It comes from a group of Kenyans whose ancestral land was stolen by British imperial forces. They are calling on the royal family to apologize and make reparations. The move follows a wave of protest against royal tours of the Caribbean, where campaigners have demanded Britain's monarchy address the legacy of slavery. For decades, from 1902, 500,000 people from the Kipsigis and allied indigenous groups in Kenya were violently evicted from the Kericho region of western Kenya. Many men and women were raped, arbitrarily detained, and in some cases killed whilst trying to resist the evictions. An advocate for the victims, Joel Kimutai Bosek, wrote in a letter to the Duke of Cambridge, "The pain and the atrocities the royal family has committed towards black people is too much. And now they're going after Meghan. They're doing the same thing. They have never learned. They have never faced any accountability. And there needs to be justice for their actions towards black people." Now, as I continue this story, what's happening, this developing story, foreign settlers seized their highly fertile land and turned it into tea plantations, some of which are now owned by British beverage brands, including PG Tips. The victims were deported to arid areas of Kenya and prevented from returning home. They were still being kept in squalid conditions on native reserves in 1952, when Queen Elizabeth ascended to the throne while in Kenya on a royal tour. After Kenya became independent in 1963, Britain's monarchy showed favor to colonial families that remained in the country. Prince William spent his gap year in central Kenya on a farm run by the descendants of white settlers and later proposed to his wife there. In the letter seen by us, the Queen's grandson is told that the suffering as a result of this period has been entirely ignored by your family and successive British governments. We are urging you at this historic time to stand on the side of justice and to recognize the grave violations we have endured for decades. Unfortunately, they will never ever account for what they did. The atrocities the royal family committed, they will never be able to account for it. As a matter of fact, even right now, they're going after the first and only mixed race member of the royal family, Meghan. They're going after her right now as we speak, smearing her, bullying her, insulting her, and spreading negativity and hate towards the first mixed race woman to ever join the royal family, an all-white institution. And unfortunately, I don't believe the royal family will ever answer for their actions towards black people. I still don't believe that that will happen. Now, let me continue this story. Now, on behalf of the victims, the Nairobi-based lawyer wrote, "The pain of our colonial past has been inherited in many forms and is exacerbated by the ongoing economic hardships of losing such precious land to profit-hungry corporations. But this is also your colonial past, and where we inherited the pain, you inherited the profit, and the royal family continues to profit from the atrocities they have caused towards black people." Now, he added this, that, and I quote, "Despite our immense suffering under British rule, the British government has refused to acknowledge this fact or meet any of us, let alone apologize, which is why we are now appealing to you." Now, last year, 6 UN special reporters wrote to the British government expressing concern at the alleged lack of reparation provided to victims for the gross violations suffered at the time of the events, as well as for the harm suffered by victims and their descendants in the succeeding decades as a result of the loss of their property. Now, UK authorities did not respond directly to the specific details of the Kericho case, instead claiming to have addressed colonial-era grievances through a settlement awarded to victims of the Mau Mau uprising that occurred in another part of Kenya. We are clearly different victims whose land was forcibly taken away. Today's letter notes the provision of reparations to one discrete group of victims plainly does not address our grievances as a separate and distinct group of victims. Now, on the Platinum Jubilee, letter comes at a delicate time for the royal family when the palace wants to focus on marking the Queen's 70th year on the throne. That's what they're saying right now. My question is, the people who have suffered as a result of the atrocities committed by the royal family, should they forget their suffering because the Queen wants to stand on a balcony and celebrate her 70th year on the throne? These people, their families have been raped, killed, maimed. They've lost their property, their economic livelihoods. They're living in poverty. They should pause their suffering and actually forget about their suffering because the Queen wants to enjoy a 70th year on the throne. If you want to understand what the royal family sees, how the royal family sees black people, look no further with this reaction. That, hey, look, it's the 70th year of the Queen on the throne. Let's not talk about this right now. Excuse me? Excuse me? After everything these people have done, the atrocities committed by the royal family, the grave human rights violations against people of color, you want us to forget that? No person can ever forget what the royal family has done. So the people who wrote this letter to Prince William say this, that, allow me to continue. As you prepare to celebrate your grandmother's Platinum Jubilee, our own elderly family members remember the pain of having their homes and land taken away from them at the same time. The Kericho campaigners say to Prince William, we have very little to celebrate. We are asking you that you therefore do the right thing and support our quest for justice by making a public statement of our recognition of what we suffered, as well as an apology and an arrangement for appropriate reparations. Now, Prince William has met Kenya's president on multiple occasions, including as recently as November. Now, members of the squad, he normally goes to visit his ex-girlfriend, Jeka, in Kenya. And members of the squad, who knows what happens, because we do know that Prince William is known for having that side eye, meaning he apparently, allegedly, is known to have affairs with different women, from Rose Hanbury, whom we've been told by the tabloids he allegedly had an affair with. The tabloids themselves, they leaked that information of Prince William's alleged affair with Rose Hanbury. Then they covered it up. And now we also know that he goes to visit Jeka Craig at a time when his wife was pregnant with his third child, Louis, as well. And now, very, very suspicious, to be honest with you. Very, very suspicious. And members of the squad. Now, Professor Philip Murphy, an expert in imperial history at the University of London, told us that colonial legacy issues are increasingly the focus for protest and calls for reparations. This is changing the whole dynamic of interactions between the Windsors and the Commonwealth. People are tired of this "I am not a racist" tours of Prince William and kids tours. They are tired of it. They know how the royal family sees black people, and it's not in a positive light. As a matter of fact, the Queen only hires black people for servants' positions. It's a policy for Buckingham Palace, and it has never been removed. And by the looks of it, it will never ever be removed. Now, as I continue, in the past, there was an assumption that royal visits and Commonwealth patronages were an essential part of British soft power, despite their often blatant imperial overtones. Following developments like the Black Lives Matter movement and the Windrush scandal, However, these imperial echoes are provoking pushback from a variety of quarters. Prince William was asked to comment. And members of the squad, as I've said, Prince William has been petitioned by Kenyan land grab victims. How many atrocities will the royal family get away with? How many? How many will they continue getting away with? How many? Prince William, after that disastrous tour, was willing to give up on the Commonwealth. And I think that is the perfect thing to do. He should give up, because we don't want an all-white supremacist family ruling over black people who are only hired for servants' positions in the palace. The fact that the first mixed race woman to ever join the royal family was kicked out with bullying and racism, while the royal family kept quiet, that in itself is an indictment of the royal family. Our members of the squad, there needs to be accountability, and I'm glad that people are taking Prince William to tasks over the actions of the royal family, the grave human rights injustices committed against black people. And now Prince William, they are still doing the same thing to Meghan. And that's why we as a community, we exist to fight the abuse that Meghan faces at the hands of this all-white supremacist royal family. With that and so much more, stay tuned to our next video. Tell us what you think about this new developing story. And stay tuned to our next video. Love you, family, always and forever. Hello, members of Sussex Family TV. First of all, I want to say thank you for all your support that you give us to our channel. We don't take it for granted that you support this channel. I want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for lending out your support and fighting against injustices, supporting Prince Harry and Meghan, showing them love. Love will always triumph over evil, and for that I say thank you. Good will always prevail over bad. Thank you so much for all your support. Thank you so much for joining this community, this amazing community of Sussex Family TV. I love you so much, family, from the bottom of my heart, and I wish you all the best. May you have a great day, and I hope that you enjoyed this video and learned a lot of things. With that and so much more, stay tuned to our next video. Leave a comment below, like and subscribe. Love you, family, always and forever. Sayonara.